Be aware of these street fight mistakes and become invincible out there. But keep in mind that violence ain't cool. We're sharing these tips to fend off bullies in self-defense. So let's get to it. One hand or one technique. So the first mistake that you must avoid in a street fight is something called the one hand or one technique. You might have heard about it. Hockey fights are a good example. Okay, so it's where someone grabs you with your shirt or jacket and starts throwing punches to your face. Boom, boom, boom. Now, most people favor this way of handling things just because it's easy. But you know what? People don't realize the person receiving these punches won't keep taking them. Well, that's unless they're on drugs or something. You know what I mean. Out of instinct, the person on the receiving end might have the same thing in mind. And there you have your hockey fight. It goes back and forth. Both people begin to exchange punches. Bang, bang, until one of them passes out or gives up. But this ain't the best technique out there, and it surely won't win you a fight either. It's just one-dimensional and dull, and an experienced fighter will begin blocking in no time. Getting out of it is pretty simple. Pop the hand that's grabbing the shirt, and follow up with a punch. Boom, lights out. Like I said, one technique is one-dimensional. People often say that you can quickly end a fight by kicking someone in the kneecap, breaking the leg, and calling it a day. If that's the case, we'll be seeing a lot of it in UFC, no? If a palm strike in the nose, bang, with the hope that it goes up into the brain and ends everything. You'll be seeing people dying from it on the streets every day. Understand this. It doesn't work like that. The human body is not fragile. At least not that fragile. 2. Lack of defense. Alright guys, up next is a lack of defense. So this normally happens when people go full-blown attack in a fight. They're trying to end the fight as soon as it starts. It's called headhunting, and that, my friends, doesn't work. It's always the 50-50 rule, half offense, half defense. Think about someone like Floyd Mayweather. Well, of course that we're talking about a street fight, not a freaking boxing match. But the point is, if you understand your defense, you're a whole different beast. In most cases, headhunters trying to quickly end a fight go for haymakers to the face. Now that's another mistake, and we'll talk about it in a bit. Haymakers are almost useless in a street fight because an experienced fighter will quickly throw a few punches, boom boom, to soften you up and end up with a hefty one. Bang! And this is what you gotta do while keeping your defense up along the way. Defense is so important, folks, that it can help you win a fight if it's strong enough. Now, defense doesn't mean that you need to lock all pouches coming your way. The most critical thing here is to be in the right position to launch an attack from your defense. And for that, you need to block with your arms and elbows covering your head and face while staying on your front foot. Don't lean on your back foot, or your opponents will keep coming at you, and all you'll be doing will be blocking out their punches. If your opponent is attacking you with punches and uppercuts, you need to use your elbows to block them out. And when you see the opportunity, extend your arms. Keep pushing forward to get across your opponents and attack with a few of your own. It's a work of art, and to get better at it, you need to train hard. 3. Haymakers, uppercuts, flying kicks, and spinning punches. Right folks, up next are haymakers, which we already talked about are a no-no in a street fight. These huge power punches with a swing of a baseball bat will get you the best results. Now, that might be correct in the laws of physics, but it ain't about power all the time, and ain't nobody got time for it either. Street fights are quick, and you have to be effective in those few seconds. You gotta be effective in your fight, and you can only achieve that with accuracy and speed. Street fights are quick, and you usually don't have time for this stuff. It's about landing a few on the sweet spot and topping it up with a heavy one. A better way to do it is to go for quick and short punches that will be fast and precise, something like street boxing. The same is the case with spinning punches or flying kicks. It's more about the space you have in a fight, and there are times you don't have much space around you, but keep one thing in mind. Fights are glorified in movies. Street fights aren't pretty and they're brisk, so you have to be respectful and responsive to the situation you're in. Otherwise, things can go south in no time. Out of instinct, of course, you want to launch a full assault on your opponent, but things are far more complicated because you're not up against a piñata. Be more versatile in your approach, and we'll talk about it in detail in just a bit. Okay, let's move on to the next mistake that you need to avoid in a street fight. 4. focusing on your attacker. So the next mistake that most people make in street fights is trying to focus on their opponents, and that's how you're preparing to fail. You have to be aware while being face to face with your attacker. Stay vigilant of the surroundings. Maybe your attacker is not alone, and someone's gonna jump up on you from behind. Keep an eye on the body language of your attacker. Notice if he's looking around, trying to get something and use it as a weapon or any other sort of help. So stay alert, prevent that from happening. And you can only do that by staying active and considering the surroundings of your attacker as well. Right, let's move on to the next street fight blunder you must avoid. 5. Underestimating your opponent. The next one is pretty self-explanatory, and that is not to underestimate your opponent. Your hacker might look tiny or slim or an average Joe, but this doesn't mean he can't hurt you. Don't judge anyone based on their appearance. It's all about their mindset or history. Maybe he's out and about with his friends and ran into you, or maybe he has a weapon on him that can hurt you. Believe your opponents are dangerous regardless of their size and physique, so don't make this mistake in street fights. You might end up lying on the floor in pain and embarrassment. 5. Assuming and planning. The final one we're going to talk about in this video is assuming anything in a street fight. Don't assume your opponent is weak or doesn't have a weapon, or it's going to be a fair fight, because on the street, nothing is fair and you've got to be prepared for it. In a street fight, you only have mere seconds to react before everything is over. Going Sherlock Holmes here is the end of it. You can't plan how everything goes in a street fight. React and improvise instead of assuming and planning. Just be prepared. And for that, you need to be smart and train hard. Work on your offense and defense at the same time. It's important not to have a plan, but to have a strategy. You need to be more flexible in your approach. Things can get wild on the streets and you never know what's coming. Now, if you have a plan of action for that, you're as good as dead in no time. But if so, there you have it. Which one do you think is the most common of these street fight mistakes? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell icon for regular updates.